Luton Urban Radio for some outstanding, mellow, you know what's up, funky, sensational, spectacular soul.
Luton Urban Radio, LUR Live.
Did you know the recent survey by Crest Advisory found that 72% of the police do not treat people from ethnic minority the same as white British people, and figures show black people are 6.2 times more likely to be stopped and searched than white people. Hello, welcome back to Public and the Police, done by youth ambassadors Kat
and Ruth,
and we're so happy to be back talking to the police again on behalf of the public. Today we will be looking at the Re-Generation Roadshow, what we have learned from it, and how the work put into the roadshow will continue in the future. So as Ruth and I were at the roadshow, I'm going to let Ruth tell us a bit about what it was about. Oh, before we do that, can we just introduce the officers here?
Absolutely. My name is Romero. I'm a part of Cohesion team, community team. I've been in the force for 2 years now, so I'm still new but loving the role. And this is my colleague.
Alex House, I'm Chief Inspector, so I look after community policing for Luton. I've been in and out of Luton for most of the last 20 years in various roles, mostly community, and I look after the community cohesion team, among other things, and the local policing team. So, yeah, and we're real push on this topic.
Before we go into what the roadshow was about, because we were all there, can you tell me a bit more about your role, community cohesion officer?
Absolutely. So I get the fun job, I like to say. I get to have all the sort of engagement planning, getting involved with, from schools to even sports centres, sort of local. I mainly focus on Luton. That's the priority for me because, I think it's important to sort of have a name and sort of get that going. So we're focusing on Luton, different sports centres, active Luton. So I just have my foot in the door of, sort of building and letting them know what we are trying to work on and sort of establishing those connections. And I think they're important to have, everyone should know what our agenda is, and a lot of the time it aligns.
Thank you. I hope to hear more about that as we go on. So Ruth, can you tell us about the Regeneration Roadshow?
Yes, absolutely. So Bedfordshire Police's ongoing commitment to the community is demonstrated through their involvement in the National Police Race Action Plan, as Kat mentioned before. To improve local policing for black people, they adopted a culturally sensitive approach, recognising the importance of respecting lived experiences and diverse needs. As part of this effort, Bedfordshire Police engaged with 4 generational groups: secondary school students, university students from institutions like University of Bedfordshire and Cranfield, empty nesters and seasoned citizens, also known as senior citizens. These groups voiced their opinions and recommendations to inform a social governance and policing approach to improve policing for black people in Bedfordshire, and the Re-Generation Roadshow successfully connected with 75 secondary school students in its first phase, involving students from Cardinal Newman Catholic School and Icknield High School, who we heard from on the 22nd of last month. This initiative underscores Bedfordshire Police's dedication to building trust, understanding, and inclusivity within the community.
Thank you.
Nice.
So we mentioned the Race Action Plan. Can either one of you explain to the listeners what that is?
Well, I think it's, anyone who's seen it in the press may sort of have seen sort of some of the negative connotations from it. I think to put it more into what it does on, what it says on the tin, is we've renamed it for Bedfordshire, improving policing for black people in Bedfordshire. So it exactly does what it says, and it's sort of revolves around 4 key themes around the workforce, making sure that our workforce are diverse and representative, and that it's fair and that, inclusive, and there's opportunity there, and it's about having opportunities. It's about having the communities out there having a say in policing, because the crux of it is, if you go back to Robert Peel back in the 1800s when the police force was first started, the principles on which it was based was around fairness and legitimacy, and so people would know they were being treated fairly. But the overriding principle was that the police are the people and the people are the police.
Okay, I
And that is it still goes right back to the very core of what we all stand for. So that's what it's about. And then obviously not just the engagement, but it's about not being over policed, but it's about having a say in it as well, about how we deliver that, because we are the people. We're here by consent. We police by consent.
Brilliant. Absolutely. And that's one thing why I really wanted to get involved in that, because I had a chance to bring a sort of a unique perspective into that, and once I heard about it, I was like, yes, this is what we need, because a lot of the time we have this thing where we can there's issues, but it's hard to come up with solutions. So when someone is willing to sit there and not go in there with an agenda, not go in there with the idea of hard to reach places, but go in there with the idea of, okay, but what can we all do? What is it we can do with the tools we have? And that's how we sort of came around this sort of aspect, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a great quote, isn't it? It's not asking for more resources and things like that we don't have. It's about doing what we've already got and doing it well, and doing community policing is a great example of that. Policing is a great example of we deliver the right things. It's just making sure we have focus, and that's where Romero's role has really kicked in to provide that core focus around doing the right thing, but with a real direction to build bridges.
Okay. So just to follow up from that, the action plan includes overpoliced and underpoliced. Underprotected. So do you mind explaining to listeners what that means?
Do you want me to fill that one?
Yeah,
sure. So over-policed is the whole issue. I think you've already raised on it around issues like proportionality around stop and search and use of force and criminalisation and being in custody and all those kind of things. So it's about saying, well, actually, that we need to redress that balance. We need to make sure that the whole system's in place, everything internally from the senior leadership is representative, and the specialist departments have a proportionate representation, because we know that a diverse team brings so much more to the table and achieves so much more. And so it's about making sure that we redress the balance and we have checks and balances in place. So in Bedfordshire, we've got scrutiny panels made up of community members around stop and search and use of force for exactly those reasons. And it's about making sure that we are transparent in everything we do and say, right, okay, come in, you pick a video at random and we will show you the body-worn video from the officer of that incident, that stop and search, that use of force, and explain it, and then we take away key feedback and comments, whether it's positive or negative, and it could be anything from escalating that to our professional standards department to look at if it's bad or if it's really good. The officer gets feedback to say well done, and anything in between. And then so that's the over police, but the underrepresented, underprotected is about actually saying, well, again, it goes back to we are your police force and we are your communities and you are our communities. We're all together in this, and so actually it's so important that all communities have a say in everything that we do. We set priorities, and part of Romero's role is around actually when we get out there and engage to let everybody know what we do, but let them have a say in the way we do this. We set community priorities for community policing. So
and just to touch on that, I think a really cool part about it for me is being able to show people that it's not so hard to reach, because we're in multiple places. We're not limited to certain spaces, and that's what makes our community so unique in itself. We have Black Muslims, we have Black Christians, and with that, it gives you a chance to sort of embed your mission, and it gives you a chance to give something back. And that for me is such a key drive for me to really be involved in that, because we are sometimes when you go down the underrepresented area, it can be true, because people have in the past said, how do we reach them? Where do we go? Where do we even start? And it's like, well, hold on, just open your eyes for me. It's like, if you look around you will see plenty of us. We're everywhere, And if you come and be willing to talk, if you're willing to talk to us, a lot of the time the walls will come down, and I think that's what we found. And look at it, for me, the roadshow was a great example. I went in, right?
Can you tell the listeners a bit like what the room looked like?
Yeah. For me, it's amazing. They had free products in the corner, tables, and schools were all involved, and all these kids came in, and these kids, bless them, we had seen them before, so we had actually gone to the school, but this time we sort of took them out of their element in a sense, because now they've come to us, and we've got different tables set up, and we had you guys doing a great job hosting. I must say, it was a brilliant job hosting. And it just gave us a chance to rotate around and, you know, speak to them. And it's like, what do you think? You know, what would you like to see from us? That was a really cool question that we, you know, we got a lot of feedback from that.
Yeah.
Even down to things from social media and, you know, the colours and just seeing a bit more of the bright side of us. And I thought, you know what, that makes sense because we do so much good, but maybe it's just not, we're not maybe showing it. That's something that we're working on, and we have a full, you know, we're really starting to improve on that. And it's a fun journey to see. It's a fun journey to see.
You were saying before that, you know, the community is all around. So how does your role, how is the police connecting with those communities apart from scrutiny panels? Because as you said, like, that's just one path, and you don't want it to just be like, oh, that's the only way. So what other ways is there?
Walking in there, you just go. You know, you just go.
To the police station.
Or down to the town centre. You go into, you know, school clubs, libraries. The thing is, a lot of places have open doors. I'm very lucky. You know, people love to talk to me, and I have the chance to go into these places. So for me, I don't do anything special. I just use the tools that are already there. Going back to the tools that are already there, you know. We have great contacts as well. I must say, on the Cohesion team, what Cohesion do, they have their foot in the door as well. They have many contacts they work with and whatnot. So that kind of makes it a bit easier in a sense to, you know, sort of get those connections going or keep them established. So I just go to wherever the places are, and I just ask them, well, what would you like from me? A lot of what I've heard is a bit more consistency. And I've even been, you know, I've been pretty bad on that end sometimes because, you know, we're all human. It's you get your foot in one door and so many things come up and you try and be here and you be there. But what I found is now I have people that are on the same mission. So we all sort of just fill it in. You know?
And it's not just about Romero. I have to add that. I mean, Romero's giving us that, and I say us as in the team Luton, the focus, and Bedfordshire Police that focus. But there's the great work that the communications team doing, as you know yourself. It's the great work that the community teams are doing. They're out there, and it's just reminding them actually when they go to an engagement with a school, or reminding them when they go to an engagement with in a community centre or a sports event or anything, that even enforcement and knocking on doors and making sure that people are okay. It's just around understanding what part they have to play in this programme, so they're conscious of it. I find we have this vision at the top, and part of my job is to bring our teams along with us to join into that vision and fulfil it and see how they contribute, and that's a really important piece, you know, because it is about policing, it's about keeping people safe, it's about, you know, locking up the people who do harm to our communities and our citizens, but it's also about, because we are the people and the people are the police, it's about doing it together and engaged. Partnership working, which is great because, like you said, you know, we have so many teams involved, and the amount of things they do, you know, from the social media aspect. I mean, I wouldn't know where to even start on there, and you know, finding out what sort of problems could occur, and that's another thing. So, super alert on that end, and it makes it fun to work along with partnerships. And like you said, interlinking is key to community for me. I think, and not just community groups. We're talking about our partners in Luton Borough Council, and Borough Council, and Central Bedfordshire Council. And their teams doing all that similar work to us, and it's about, you know, joining in with health and things like that, because that holistic picture, we achieve so much more than working in silos by working collectively, and you know, we're greater than the sum of our parts.
Okay, so the next question is, how does the role of a PCSO differ from that of a frontline officer? So if you don't mind also explaining to us what a PCSO is, for those that don't know.
Do you want me to cover that?
I'll let you explain it. Yeah,
so
sure.
We have the role of police constable, the officer police constable is the traditional, what you might envisage as the bobby on the beat, doing all the community engagement and all that kind of stuff, but also, you know, processing, you know, the CID side of things, and the you know, policing, you know, public order operations, the whole shebang. And the PCSO role, police community support officer role, is exactly what it says. It's that supportive role where it actually, because and Romero has already touched on it a bit, we all get busy, so we do get a bit neglectful, we do get inconsistent sometimes with keeping up with people. But the beauty of having that role in the PCSO is that it's so concentrated and focused around that neighbourhood, that community policing piece. So the role of PCSO does have powers, but not the full tranche, and it's very specific to the community engagement side of things. So the beauty is that it complements the police constable role, and the police constable role complements the community support officer role.
Do they wear a uniform?
We do. Do you know, we wear uniform, but we don't have the tools that, you know, people probably think when they think uniform, you know, for example, handcuffs and a baton. But do you know what? I like that. I think it makes it a bit more unique because people come up to me, you know, they're a bit more relaxed. Sometimes I'm like out there having photos, you know, and things with people because I think it breaks the wall down. It's hard to explain what the wall is. It's probably something that could be going on for a half an hour debate. But for me, I found this role has given me a chance to really just communicate. So I would say I push it a lot, especially if you have a big community drive in you, if you know, sort of care about what's going on, you have your foot in different doors, you know, you want to make a change. I always push a PCSO because it gives you the time. You know, that's another thing. It gives you the resources and time, doesn't it, to be able to actually do it. Because if you know, when you're in response, and bless them, they have to go job to job. You know, they get tied up in the more hardcore nitty-gritty stuff, where we can sort of do the old school Bobby on the bait things.
Yeah, is that community policing, and the community policing constables that you know out there as well, doing a great job. Can just easily go out with all the best intentions of saying, right, I'm going to go and engage with this community today, but instantly come across, you know, a car accident or a person in crisis or a crime in action or whatever, and suddenly that then means we don't meet those obligations, and that's the beauty of PCSO roles, because that is their mission, you know, among other things. But
just out of interest, like, is there a lot of PCSOs? Because it sounds like, because what I've heard from the police is like not a lot of people do feel comfortable communicating to like frontline officers, those who are dressed in actual like uniform, and they have the police powers, and it does kind of lead on to our next question about changing perceptions, which is how can Bedfordshire Police address the perception among young people that policing as a service is seen negatively within the black community, because it seems that you have the opposite, like people come up to you and they'll speak to you.
Sure. It's an interesting one. It's an interesting one because, like I was saying, I kind of touched before, it's hard to really understand the wall in terms of what is it about, you know, the different uniform, whatever, all it is. But I think, here's what I've worked out in my mind. I think because they get to see me all the time. They come after school, there I am doing a lap. They're going out to eat with their family, there I am doing a lap. So now I've seen them with their parents, bear in mind, so you know, their behaviours might change, and now they think, oh, you know, got the connection. But that constant cycle, after a while, I think it just does something to the point where you just accept it. It's like, okay, now if I do have an issue, I'm going to rather go to someone that maybe I've seen a bit more. So I think that's one element to it. Another one is, I think because it's so misunderstood, the PCSO role, you know, so for some people, they think I'm a special. we have specials as well, but you know, so
what is that?
So special's different. So they how would you hold the
so they are voluntary officers. So they will be trained and have the same powers as a constable.
Sure.
They'll be special police constables, but they do it in their own time as a voluntary role. So they, you know, you'd often see them at weekends and evenings where they've not got their 9 to 5 job, for example, and they're out doing the nighttime economy policing, or they jump in with the community team and do the fireworks event, or you know, that kind of thing. You know, so it's all complementing, you know, bringing different people together.
Sure. So I think maybe curiosity, interest, wanting to find out. So I think there's a few elements to it, but for me, I would say in terms of if I could just give a little 2-second story, for me was sort of the teenagers. You know, at first they're a bit like, oh, they're going about a usual day, you know, just having fun and, you know, being loud and irritating securities and whatnot. But after a while, like I was saying before, you know, them seeing me and whatnot, I ended up just breaking down this wall where I can go up to them. I was like, what are you doing today? Why are you behaving? Why are you not at home? Like, it's just something that you just get to do. And that's why I always push it. If you really, like I said before, if you really have the mindset where you feel you want to make an example, you know, maybe you have that side of you where you can sway people to sort of start questioning things a bit more, and you know, what is it you want to do? I always do say community support officer might be something you should look into because it's different, you know. And if you have the fears of maybe you think the policing the normal usual way isn't for you, just have a look around internally, because there's so many different positions and different cool things you can do in the force that might just be more for you.
Yeah, so there's so much more than just
Yeah.
PCSO, just constable. You know, there's our comms team who you know. There's there's the force control room, you know, who answer the phones and do, you know, get that real front line, you know, before the officers get involved or the PCSOs get called. So when you call for police, they're the ones sitting in a big room answering that, and they do a fantastic job. You know, you've got the criminal investigation side of thing with the investigation officers and all kinds of backroom functions you couldn't even dream of. I mean, you imagine trying to pull together a massive policing operation like a Premiership football game. Well, behind that is obviously all the officers and PCSOs out on the streets, but behind that is a layer of, you know, the resource management unit who have the really difficult task of pulling all these resource pieces together, that managing, you know, day-to-day business as it should be. You know, the force control room sitting there, you know, managing the radios for that event as well as the business as usual. So there's so much to it, so many opportunities there, and it's a really interesting thing.
Sure.
If I could answer your previous question, and succinctly, it's about trust and relationships.
Yeah.
And that is ultimately where the success is, the consistent approach there. We've got the same face, seeing the same people in the same communities, means that people get to know Romero or their local Bobby or their local PCSO. They get to understand and build that relationship and that rapport. And when you've got that relationship, you trust each other. And that is the difficult bit to build when you've got such a kind of a big community and such a small police force. There's not many of us, not enough of us, but we're doing our best.
Just before we go on to the next question, like, because it sounds like Romero's like, you know, the cool school teacher. What areas do you go? Is it just school areas, or
No,
like,
so
can you explain to the viewers, like,
sure.
where would we find people like you?
Do you know, absolutely. Do you know, I would say, there's PCSOs, we have cool patches. So, you know, Stopsley. So a lot of the Wigmore area, Stopsley, town centre, sort of big areas. A lot of the time it would be mainly community centres, but they walk around, they do like parks, anywhere that people like the public normally would go, they sort of drift around. And now, in terms of the numbers, and it depends on the area, of course, but yeah, you normally find PCSOs either outside your school, in the town centres, you know, in places you just normally stroll down, you know, so we bump ways there. For me, I'm normally in the town centre a lot of the time if I'm not in town, because there's so much in town you can do, you know, there's places for me to go. If I'm not in town, I'm at the schools, like I said prior, or even sports centres and parks, you know. I try and also just fit in, you know, just going down, just to do normal roads sometimes, just to show the face if I have the time to show that consistency, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm everywhere.
But and it's the same, and you imagine it's geographical. So community policing, I look after Luton, and there's a chief inspector in central Bedfordshire that looks after central Bedfordshire, and the same for Bedford's borough. And obviously in central Bedfordshire they're all spread right out. So you know, whereas Luton, we've got our, you know, we're ward based, so we've got 2 inspectors, one in south and east and town centre area. The other one's got the central area in the north and west, and then a sergeant on each of those, and then a team of PCs and PCSOs doing all the engagement and all. But it's not just the engagement and all that. We try and tackle those really issues that affect people's quality of life. You know, this morning we had yesterday morning we had a warrant. Did a warrant, you know, big stash of drugs and cash and all that kind of stuff that's causing misery in that neighbourhood, and we've taken that out of the, you know, which then leads to the sort of all the harm that goes on out there amongst fighting and things, and so we take that level of crime out. So that's community policing as well. It's you know, an exciting, busy role, you know.
For sure, absolutely vast.
So before we actually move on to the next question as well, so when you're out there engaging communities, is it like a general 9 to 5? How many times do you do it a week, or are you at the office as well? So how does that work?
Yeah, so we have also got a community team as well, so they have PCSOs on their team, and they sort of have their areas they go out and about as well. But for me, would you mind throw that one at me again?
So how many times are you out there engaging with
so it's a good one, because
yeah.
so we do 4 on and 4 off, so I probably think every day that I'm on shift, I like to be out and about. I do fit in the office, of course, I need to do that as well. But I don't really have a limit on it, per se. I like to be out there as much as I can, only because, you know, I've got a time frame and there's sort of things I want to get done, and, you know, I just like to keep those connections going. So, yeah, for me, it's normally 4 days out of the week. So we do 4-on-4-on patterns, but it's different, sort of, isn't it, for some folks?
It depends, it depends, and we try and have it planned events where people come to us. We have a couple with a copper, we call it. People come and have a cup of coffee with us, but we go to them as well. So, you know, we try and advertise it and get everybody aware of that.
So we're coming up to a break, just so let's not go into any deep convo before. So this is Public and the Police. I hope that you all are having a good time and you join us after the break. I'm Kat from Attentive.
And I'm Ruth from Attentive as well.
Yeah. And we're here every month. First Tuesday of the month from 8 to 9 p.m. on LUR Radio. So if you have any questions, you can also DM us at Attentive for questions that you, the public, actually have and want to know, and we can ask it. So please do that. And we'll catch you back after the break.
Luton Urban Radio.
Police cancel operation, cause LUR a running nation. Protege saying LUR Radio. I like it, you like it?
Independent people would like to inform all ticket holders that Mikey Cs Birthday Soiree, the Daz White edition, will no longer be taking place at the Apollonia Lounge due to licensing issues. But the good news, the event still goes ahead at the Talisman Suite, Talisman House, Unit 3, Wigan Hall Road, WD180FL from 9 till 3 a.m. Nothing can stop this event. Make sure you've got your Daz White outfit ready for Saturday 21st of October and the party that always delivers with Federal Touch featuring Robo Ranks and Big C, The Rocket International, DJ Ratty, Satisfaction, LTD and Studio Express 625. Tickets at £20 plus booking fee online from ticketsforall.co.uk, shoobs.com and usual outlets. Table bookings and info. Call 07961 316 308. Last entry is 1:30 a.m. And if it's your birthday, you get in free.
Welcome to Knockout Productions Recording Studio, a place you can come to get your all-important voiceovers done. Here at Knockout Productions, we use Pro Tools for industry standard quality. We also have a mixing and mastering service with a 48-hour turnaround time, providing your files are okay. We also transfer analog quarter-inch tape to digital CD. For more information, check out our website. Go to www.knockoutproduction64.com. That's www.knockoutproduction64.com. Alternatively, call or text 07940 382 766. That's 07940 382 766. We look forward to hearing from you.
Advertise with LUR Live and get my voice. Hello everybody, my name's Lazara and I'm a voiceover artist. I'll read your ads however you like. I can be sultry and smooth, excited and vibrant, or serious and informative. Get in touch for all your on-air advertising needs by emailing info@lurlive.co.uk or by calling 07908 974 543.
You're listening to Luton Urban Radio, LURlive.co.uk. Just to let you know that each and every Wednesday evening, you can catch the Love Light Unplugged between the hours of 8 and 10 p.m, featuring Daddy Sherlock, James Vuitton, plus guest selectors, playing the very best in soul, R&B, funk, rare grooves and reggae in the Love Light style. So remember to tune in for your midweek fix of music, courtesy of Love Light Unplugged and Luton Urban Radio. Bless it.
Luton Urban Radio.
It's just I don't.
Hi guys, welcome back to Public and the Police. I'm your host Kat.
And this is Ruth.
And we're youth ambassadors from Attentive, and we're here with our guests
Romero
and Alex.
So we're gonna just go back into it.
Yeah. So just to carry on from our last question, which was how often are you out in the society, engaging with community? How can the community detect a PCSO?
Well, you can reach out to us. If you want to come to the station, ask for your local PCSO. You can ask them about their area. So you can ask specifically for your area. If you're in Farley, you can say, who's the PCSO for Farley Hill? Our social media pages as well. That will inform you. We've got Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. We work a lot with sort of security as well. So maybe even if you wanted in the mall and whatnot, you can even go to them and be like, who's the PCSO here? How would I find them?
If you look at the Bedfordshire Police website, or there's police.uk, which is national, it's easy just to put in your postcode or your street name or location, and it will give you photographs. Certainly the Bedfordshire Police one will give you the photographs of your local team, PCs, PCSO, sergeant. You'll even get a mugshot of me probably on there somewhere. But the difference that they will notice, that the public would see, is the uniform. So the police constables tend to wear all black t-shirts and trousers and body armour, sometimes with a high vis sort of yellow vest, and they wear the checkered band around a black flat hat.
Oh, so they kind of look like a lollipop lady.
With the high big yellow jacket sometimes. But you'll see that they will carry probably sometimes taser, but it will be baton and handcuffs and things like that on their body armour. Our PCSO colleagues tend to wear blue shirts, like a sort of I don't know, kind of royal blue, I guess. So their shirts will be blue, and they'll have a blue band around their hat, and they'll have police community support officer on their sort of big stick patches on the back. So that's the general difference, and they don't carry cuffs or batons or taser, that sort of thing. So visually that's the key difference.
Okay. So you don't have any powers to use a taser?
No tasers for PCSOs. Which, probably it's for the best in terms of, I want you to come to me. I don't want you to see the taser and thing up.
Yeah. Okay, great. But, from our conversation, we can see that it is very beneficial joining policing in the sense if you want to make a change from the inside, and it doesn't have to necessarily be through frontline policing, which is what we did touch on at the Re-Generation Roadshow. We asked the students from Cardinal Newman and Icknield if they would ever consider a career in policing, and a lot of them did say no, but they wouldn't mind a different role from frontline policing. They kind of saw it as being snitches if they were, which we also heard from some black officers that they have had those same criticisms from family. So what do you say to people like this who they would consider a role in policing but they don't necessarily want to be seen?
Well, first I'd say find out more. There's so many roles, from that frontline officer or frontline PCSO right the way through to the force control room or our comms team or our resource management unit, or I'm rattling off just a couple. Detectives, yes, they are forward facing, but actually, they're essentially more of a I don't know, you'd say they're not on the streets like everybody your uniformed officers are, and so there's a real mix of different roles that people could join. So find out first, and then you touched on the really important point at the beginning of what you just said then, is we will never change this unless people step up and make the change. Step up and join and be the whole culture. Bedfordshire Police's culture is all about there's 5 strands of it, and one of them is be inclusive, and it is about providing people with that space to speak out if things aren't right. It's about allowing a voice from within. We're not this draconian outfit, that people probably think we might have been, because it looks military, doesn't it? It looks, wear uniforms and we've got a rank structure and everything else. But actually, do you know what? While there is a time and a space for those issues, when fast moving, critical, incidents and things, actually, do you know, there's a time and a place to be challenging and ask questions, and there's lines that should never be crossed and aren't crossed, and if they are, then those people are dealt with very severely. So it's that whole, give it a chance would be my message, and I would say also find out but you will only ever make that change. You will only make that change and make the police services of Great Britain better if we are more representative and more inclusive.
And look, I mean, do you think you can achieve what you want to do without being seen? I think that's also an important question. I mean, it depends on what your aim is. If your aim is a bit more community based, I would say it'll be a bit harder because your face is going to be out there, because it's going to have to be, isn't it? You know, you're trying to go out there to connect that establishment with the community, but that's just the community aspect of it. And so, like you said, you know, you mentioned so many different roles. So I think also, just firstly, I would say, well, can you achieve what it is you want to achieve without being seen? That's also one of the first questions I would personally ask myself. And, you know, it's like you touched on it, isn't it? The sort of stitch culture and snitching culture and whatnot, and it's a real thing, you know. I think no one will deny that it's a real thing. But my sort of rebuttal to that is well, where's the end goal to that? What's that cost? Is it worth the cost? You know, some people may think so. For me, I think there's also other solutions. So, you know, for me, it depends on how you look at it, what you want to do from the job. You know, normally people have the agenda of wanting to help or give something back in that mindset. So I think that drive pushes away anything else. You don't really care about the name callings and whatnot, because your drive is so on the road. You just want to go and you want to get things done. That nothing really can sort of sidetrack that. Well, for me personally, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. It is about, for me, I think back to the core value. If you ask a lot of people why they joined the police, they'll say, "Oh, it's because I wanted to make a difference." Or I know exactly what mine was, and it was to make the world fairer. And I know that sounds really cheesy, but it was about being fair. And you know, I look at my dad, who, you know, worked hard at long hours, 3 jobs to keep, you know, roof over her head. Mum working various part-time jobs around that to keep, you know, food on the table. And then you've got criminals out there, you know, earning off of crime. And how is that fair? And then that whole core value of mine is, well, actually it's not fair that communities are treated differently for any reason, whether you know, any background reason, whether it's the colour of their skin or the religion they follow or their sexuality or whatever. That is not right. And I think if we hold that in our core, then we've got to get together and make that difference.
That's such a good point, because isn't that like sort of the alignment factor for everyone? It's like no one wants to be mistrusted. You know, I think the idea you just said is sort of what everyone naturally would want. You know, no one wants something wrong done to them without something, you know, sort of either legally being right, isn't it, or whichever way. But everyone always has that sort of drive. So that's a really cool sort of different answer. I've not heard. I like that.
Okay, so we touched upon having different job roles within the police without having to be a frontline police officers. And do you mind walking us through the different job roles that people can have?
Oh, right. So what should we? I mean, within police constable roles or the whole organisation?
Within
the whole
organisation.
Yeah.
And policing PLC. So you could be anywhere, and police staff, which means you're not a warranted officer, and that we've got members of staff, police staff, in our force executive and senior ranks, police staff equivalent of those senior ranks. So there's roles for everybody there. There's roles. So you've got the constable and there's loads of roles of constable. You know, firearms and dogs and patrol and community policing and many more. Roads policing unit, all that sort of stuff. Then there's detectives on the major crime or fraud or CID or child protection and public protection, various other many roles for a detective. So you've got 2 massive areas in just those 2 police officer roles. But on the back of it, you've got those that, you know, everything from accountancy and resource management and communications right the way through to cadets, people who manage the front offices, people who manage the fleet and the vehicles, people who manage the stores of uniform, people who manage the stores where evidence has been seized and that gets put somewhere. You know, you work through the whole organisation. There's what is it, 4,000 employees, 3,500 employees in Bedfordshire Police, something like that, I don't know. Only 1,400 of those are police officers. So there's probably as much again, almost, if not more, of police staff roles. And they're so important because it's about, you don't want a police officer being your communications officer, do you?
No.
Because that would be a bit rubbish. You know, you don't want a police officer being the person who manages the accounts, because you would probably be in the red quite a lot. So what you need is those experts. So it's an employer of all kinds of walks of life and all kinds of expertise and opportunities, and people move around in the police officer roles, but they also move around in the police staff roles, don't they?
Yeah, because I personally didn't know anything about police staff roles before we got to working with the communications team, and they work, with the community and help the police communicate with the public, which is the police. I guess they wouldn't be able to do that. So it does make you think that you are able to make real change within the inside, but sometimes you need to be within the inside.
Absolutely, yeah.
And another thing that I think would be interesting to cover on is because, you're people with opinions of the community. So there's been recent knife crimes with young people, as young as 14 years old. There's been a 16-year-old killed and others injured. What do you think about this?
I was on this weekend when some very, very tragic events have taken place and the fallout from it. And I won't go into any detail other than to say that it was a lot of young people, both in trouble, injured, or have been killed. And there is, I'm saying young. I've got children that age, and this is the biggest tragedy I can fathom in 25 years of my career as a police officer. I don't want to go into the detail, but that issue in itself, knife crime, serious youth violence, they are top of the agenda for Bedfordshire Police. They are being driven by the Chief Constable all the way through every line management. Everybody contributes, but it's not just about the police. If young people are out there being caught carrying knives, or they've been stabbed and injured, or they've stabbed and injured somebody, then we're too late. That is too far down the line to be relying on one agency. You've got Bedfordshire, you've got Luton Borough Council and all the other councils doing some really clever initiatives, working with the police and our partners, trying to spot this before, those early indicators. There's the knife amnesties, there's the weapon sweeps, there's so much work that goes on. But I've been working myself with the heads of schools this weekend as well to try and get messages out and make people feel safe when they're going to school, because that is not an environment we should be bringing our children up in. But we need to stop them carrying those knives before they leave the house. So we need to educate parents on what to look out for. We need to educate the kids in school those consequences. And it's not lost on me, especially this topic. We're talking about the race action plan. This is 30 years since the death of Stephen Lawrence, since his murder. And his mother was in Luton today, just by sheer coincidence for our conversation today. And that tragedy, we've learnt a lot and not progressed nearly as quickly or as enough as we should have done in those 30 years. This was years before I was a police officer, and we're still dragging our heels. So that's why this agenda is so important that Romero and I are here to talk about. But the emergency agenda is that knife crime issue, and there's so much work being done, so much more to do, but it is about getting that education and parents educated to stop it before it gets to that tail end when it's too late.
Yeah, absolutely. We have in these situations, because it's a rough one, and you touched a nail in the head. It's something that I like the fact that we're looking far ahead. We want to sort of prevent these things. We're looking at the preventing mindset, and it's okay. Well, what can we do? So then once again, going back to solutions, isn't it? What is it with the tools we can do to hopefully, because we unfortunately these things happen, but what can we do to try our hardest to prevent them from happening? And partnership working for me and interlinking is so important. We've got such great anti-knife campaigns. Hard work is out there. Even for them getting out and about. It's a big deal, all of these things chip into the community aspect of, potentially defeating this sort of behaviour. And then we have school education diversion as a team.
We've got a team of people dedicated for that. Yeah.
And they work really closely in schools, with parents. So it's incentives like that for me that show that, yes, the progression, like you said, it's a slow one, but I feel like if things are rolling, things are, sort of, coming in place in terms of the education side. I love what they do and anti-knife crime, so I just want to work a lot more with them. That's why since when you brought me in, actually one of my first things to do was to try and find the local sort of anti-knife crime groups, sort of the after school clubs, and youth centres, because these things are growing up back in the day. I don't know if you remember, there was many of them.
I've heard a lot about them, but not many around now.
Yeah, and that's something to me. Sports used to be a big hero for me growing up, and if we can sort of tap into that again, and just keep pushing that, I think that will be something for the future to be great.
I just have to build on that, and this is the head teachers this weekend have been absolutely brilliant. All the secondary schools and sixth formers, and then there's been community leaders have really stepped up. I'm not going to embarrass them here and now, but they've been brilliant, really working with me this weekend to make sure that this preventative stuff is there. Luton Borough Council and the youth service have been absolutely fantastic. And there's so much good work we're doing with them, and they're doing. And we've got an excellent VERA unit, the Violence Exploitation Reduction Unit. They are absolutely at the forefront of this, doing a brilliant job. And there's so much being done. And I think we just don't tell anybody enough. I think we don't tell people enough about what we do. There's some really important programs out there, and I think we still have so much more to do, involving the parents and the kids, and so.
And also even sort of thanking the public as well, because sometimes just sort of touching another rhythm in terms of calling in. It takes a lot of courage, and a lot of people do. They call in still, and even if they complain about the time and whatnot, they're so devoted, and that mindset is something that is really key for community. I must just say, especially for PCSOs going back on there. We hope to have these chances to prevent things, going back to that prevent. We want to gain information and try, and so all the people that do call in and do those stuff, it helps more than I think they probably realise in the time of frustration of maybe having to wait and whatnot. But everything they do, these all tally up into that, doesn't it?
It does,
ties in.
And if you look at the organisations, we will have, the police we have Bedfordshire Police has force priorities. It's about reducing violence and neighbourhood violence and antisocial behaviour, and but that serious violence and that serious and organised crime stuff that all overlaps and ties into this is so important. That's why we prioritise it. But if you look at Luton Borough Council's 2040 vision, for example, and I'm only speaking about Luton because this is Luton Urban Radio and I'm a Luton Chief Inspector. It's not that saying that the other areas don't in Bedfordshire, but it's about making this a child-friendly town. Safe for children, where children can feel that they can speak to grown-ups about issues, that they don't go to school worrying or feeling they have to carry a knife to protect themselves. And that we're all on. And that's the vision of all of those organisations. So it's really important, that we are working together, to reassure people. But so much more to be done, and so and so many more people we can involve.
So on the Re-Generation Roadshow event, we heard from many students that they wanted to be detectives instead of being frontline officers. So how would you tell them to go about being those detectives?
Well, so it's changed recently. In recent years, it used to be you join and then you do a couple of years in uniform and you apply to be a detective, but now you can join on a scheme that fast tracks you into the detective arena. So you do I believe do some uniform work so you understand that element of policing, because you need to understand the front line bit to get the second bit. But actually, you get into that detective world a lot quicker now if that's your chosen path, and we've got cohorts of people already in the organisation now who are enjoying, having joined on that scheme.
Okay, and being a detective, just out of curiosity, can you still get involved with the community aspect of policing?
There's always room around my table, and I'll put this to any of my detectives out there listening. This evening, they're very welcome to come and see me, and I can get them involved in community projects. But on a serious note, that there is all those layers of stuff. There's layers of operations. So we've got Operation Metal running in the town centre, and this is my vision is to just cut the crime in that town centre and clear it up, take out any drug trade, take out any violence, and make that place pleasant for people. I'm working with all the partners in Bedfordshire Police as well as outside, and I've got support from my local detective inspector helping to drive their bit of the business with focus on the area. I've got proactive units working in there, and they've taken out just in August alone 30 arrests. That's one a day. £30,000 worth of drugs, cash off drug dealers. Thousands of pounds worth of drugs, 5 weapons. This is just in a small area, And we've seen on the periphery of that area, this in the last few days, hundreds of thousands of pounds of drugs and cash, 4 or 5 firearms. You know, we what the aim is to spend a period of time making our town hostile for people who are willing to come and do harm.
Yeah. So sometimes we get that it's necessary to use force. And how would you tell our listeners that, inform them about the protocols that you use in order to go about that?
Well, obviously, everybody has the right to use force. There's a common law power that everybody's entitled to, and you know, a police officer using a firearm is using the same common law powers as you would to defend yourself or the public or protect. You know, the whole point of it is that it has to be used proportionately, and it has to be absolutely necessary and no more than is necessary. I'm not going to quote legislation and stuff because I'll probably get it wrong, but because I'm sitting in front of you. But the point is that those are the key things that police. Nobody wants to go and use force on anybody. The perfect scenario. So I'm a public order commander, and supposing I have a policing operation, my ideal outcome, and the goal commander above me will set me the desired outcomes will be that basically nobody gets hurt. Nobody uses force, nobody gets, that's the perfect day out, isn't it? If you think about an event, whether it's the Luton Carnival or the Bedford River Festival or a football match or a protest, the best outcome for everybody, especially the police, is that no one's had to be arrested, no one's had to have force used against them. That's the perfect day. Clearly, sometimes that's not possible, so only in those circumstances where it is absolutely necessary, it's got to be no more than is necessary, it's got to be proportionate to the threat that's being faced. That's when it gets used. And that scrutiny, as I mentioned earlier on, there are the use of force scrutiny panel as well as the stop and search one, that we invite members of the public from all kinds of walks of life, all careers, backgrounds, race and faith, and we say to them, right, you pick your list, and we will show them to you, and you tell us, and we'll we explain things, and it just holds us to account.
And if you feel you're in a situation, where you're being wrongfully treated and the body warrants aren't just a touch off on that for the scrutiny panel, if these body warrants aren't on, you can and you have the right to tell the officers to put it on, because at the end of the day it should be on, for one, and two, it needs to be reviewed if something was to go wrong. There's something worse than not having that footage, because then you put your own self in a predicament. Now you could have had it on, and speculation could not fathom. But if you leave it to speculate, then who knows. So I do think it's make sure if you're in that situation, you feel wrong is being done, remind them to put their body worn on. I find another one is sort of matching levels. If you've brought yourself back down and maybe the officer's still up there, maybe you at the end you always open reports and whatnot. Come to station and let us know. But I think just my key one is making sure the body worn is on, because in that way it covers everyone's back, isn't it?
I think what you said there is really important, because I don't think enough people know or educate themselves or are educated about these things, because I think a lot of people would feel more comfortable if someone's come up to them and they can be like, oh yeah, can we record this conversation, because what you do see online most of the time is the public recording. But what you just said is like, they have a camera on them, but obviously that is for their own protection, and I don't say like don't do that, continue to do that, but I think, what do you say, like how do you think young people and people of the community can be educated more on these things?
See, and that's where I go back to our fun teams. We've got education aversion there in school, so they give these talks. Re-Generation Roadshow, which we were at, if you remember, we informed it there. It's an interesting one, because we met, I'm not going to go too far into his story, but we did meet one kid that actually carried around a card on him which informed him on sort of how to conduct himself. I think that's a bit more of a harsh one for me. I don't want no one to have to sort of walk around in that predicament. But it's important, like you said, to learn it. So our great social media pages, maybe on our end, we can put that out there again. But a lot of it is done normally in the schools when we have the chances, when we're in the right format to do so.
Because on that, I don't know, like, I think the public really do need to know that you do have these rights, and you, in some cases, you do need to educate yourself. And are these what these teachings, are they short, or how are they easy to understand? Is it digestible for the public?
It is. I mean, you've got to imagine that the police officers have got to understand this amongst all the other stuff they learn when they're training, and actually, you know, it's put simply around, you know, the grounds for which you know, there's mnemonics and things that I won't go into detail for, but it's all out there. You know, it's on the internet. I'm sure there's loads of information pages and
Google.
So,
okay, so what help do you want to, or what support do you want from our listeners?
Just engage with us. Yeah, just like if we could sum it up in a nutshell, engage with us. You know, just you know, we talk about communities being hard to reach. I think we're the hard to reach ones sometimes because there is that barrier uniform. Chat with us, engage with us. You know, go to the couple of the copper events or the social events that we're working with our partners on. Just engage, find out a bit more, and just be a bit open-minded. You know, and I think that open those channels, and you know, if I've got time, very briefly, one of the interesting points one of the lads said on our roadshow was that he would feel more comfortable being approached by a police officer if that police officer was black.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and so.
Just to, sorry, I'm so sorry,
yeah.
but we are like literally gonna end soon. So just to sum up, you need to get involved.
Get involved.
Black people need to get involved because we need to see more of us within the policing, and you know, go up to police officers and talk. This is Public and the Police. So this is our first show back every third Tuesday of the month, 8 to 9 on LUR Radio. I'm Kat.
And I'm Ruth.
And thank you for listening.
Radio proudly presents the 75th anniversary cabaret show and dinner celebration. Saturday, October 7th at the Club Lucy, Pastures Way, Luton LU4 9HH. Live PAs by UK's Lovers Rock legend Vivian Sugarlove Jones and Nickel J. Spoken word by Veronica E. Poet, and comedy and hosted by Mr. C. DJs on the night, Love Light, K Splash and Ricky Ninja. Early bird dinner and cabaret tickets are £20. Cabaret only £10 until 11th of September.